to be proper training provided for men or shoot men running away from them. If you're running away and your back is turned, you're not a threat. And then people say, well, their life is in danger, or it's a difficult job or a dangerous job or whatever the case. They chose this job. They weren't drafted into the police force. They chose to do this type of work. They're supposed to serve the community. Okay? If you're afraid to do your job, this isn't the job for you. Period. Shooting a person when they're running away from you, regardless of what they're doing. The police are not the judge, jury, and executioner. They're not Judge Dredd. Every crime is not punishable by death. And even if it was, it's not the police job to sentence a person. Take a look at this video, and then we'll see if you think this is resources and a system that's working.
Dominique Hagan Brown, the former Wisconsin police officer who shot and killed Seville Smith in a foot chase last year, has been found not guilty of first-degree reckless homicide. The governor declared a state of emergency and activated the National Guard after the shooting led to rioting and protests. Prosecutors said the first shot fired at the 23-year-old, who was armed, was justified, but the second, fatal shot was not, because Smith had either dropped or thrown his gun away. The defense said the officer made a split-second decision to save his life. Today, the Supreme Court upheld the convictions of 7 men in a high-profile murder case, even though the prosecution withheld crucial information during the trial. There was no physical evidence linking the men to the gruesome 1984 slaying of a 48-year-old mother in Washington, D.C. Prosecutors relied solely on witness statements. But the prosecutors didn't disclose that they'd identified another suspect in the crime, even though they're required to share any material evidence with defense attorneys that could prove their client's innocent.
What's wrong with our court system?
Lost today. In today's ruling, the Supreme Court determined that the evidence prosecutors withheld was too little, too weak, or too distant to have made a difference to the jury. Justice Elena Kagan dissented from the court's decision. With the undisclosed evidence, the whole tenor of the trial would have changed.
Exactly.
In my view, that could well have flipped one or more jurors. Prosecutorial misconduct is rampant. Out of the 762 murder exonerations since 1989, half were based on a prosecutor withholding evidence. Today's ruling makes it even harder for the wrongfully convicted to get a new trial.
So, as you see, that's recently, this past week, a police officer that was clearly guilty of murder, and people that were not guilty of murder, or possibly not guilty of murder, but the court system cheated them of a fair trial. That's part of the rights, a fair jury trial. If you don't have all the evidence and people are withholding evidence, that's not a fair jury trial. The deck is stacked against you. This used to be the greatest court system in the world and the greatest country in the world, and because of corruption on the beginning level, which is the police, and corruption at the highest level, which is the court system, let alone the Supreme Court, it's destroying people's faith in the justice system. And to have all of these riot police and all of that stuff, that's an extreme amount of cost. You know, that leaves an impact on the community, on how they feel about the police. And I think it would be better served if they would just put the people that are wrong in jail and save money with getting riot police. Help bring the community under control, because they won't be in an uproar over all of these murders. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. Peace. Think about that for a minute.